Everybody keeps saying the snub-nose revolver is dead, but 2024 and 2025 have been some of the wildest years I've ever seen for little wheel guns. While most folks are still clinging to an old J-frame 38, companies like Smith and Wesson, Diamondback, Heritage, and Charter Arms quietly rolled out a new wave of compact revolvers that are easier to shoot, easier to carry, and a whole lot smarter than what we grew up with. If you're an everyday concealed carrier, a backup gun junkie, or just a revolver nerd, this matters because your money and your safety are on the line. You can stick with outdated sights and punishing recoil, or you can look at guns like the Model 432 and 632 in 32 H&R Magnum, the Diamondback SDR 9mm, the recent Heritage Roscoe 38 Special, and those new 22 Magnum and 380 ACP snubs from Charter Arms that people actually train with. In this top 7, I'll show you which ones are worth betting your life and your wallet on. Alright, let's kick off this list at number 7 with a gun that's going to surprise a lot of you who grew up thinking snubs had to be 5-shot 38s that beat your palm to death. The Charter Arms Chic 8-shooter and 22 Magnum is not trying to be your granddad's duty revolver. This thing is a tiny, lightweight, 8-round snub with that bright anodized pink aluminum frame and a 2-inch barrel. I know, the finish grabs attention first, but stay with me. When you hang a good fiber optic front sight on a mild recoiling rimfire like 22 Magnum, you suddenly get a little carry gun that most people can actually shoot well under stress. Instead of flinching through +P recoil, you're tracking that glowing dot, keeping the muzzle flat, and putting fast hits on a torso-sized target at 7 to 10 yards. Is it the answer for every situation? No. But for folks who are recoil-sensitive, or who just want a fun, confidence-building snub they'll actually practice with, this 2025 release makes a whole lot of sense. It quietly proves that capacity and controllability matter just as much as caliber in a real fight. And honestly, for newer shooters who might be intimidated by a sharp-kicking 38, this is the kind of revolver that lets them build good habits instead of learning to hate shooting. Sliding into number 6, we stay in the Charter family, but step the power level up a notch. The Charter Arms Coyote in 380 ACP is one of those guns that makes you stop and go, why didn't somebody do this sooner, instead of yet another 5-shot 38. Charter built a short, A-ported 2-inch snub that runs 380 ACP off moon clips. That does a couple of things for the concealed carrier. First, recoil is noticeably softer than a comparable lightweight 38, especially with modern defensive 380 loads. So you can run controlled pairs without the gun trying to climb out of your hand. Second, reloads with moon clips are fast and simple. You punch the ejector, drop another clip in, and you're back in the fight. This isn't a range toy concept gun, it's a genuinely practical answer for shooters who want a revolver manual of arms but prefer the softer recoil and wide ammo availability of 380. In a pocket holster or a small belt rig, the Coyote sits flat, draws clean, and gives you a very usable sight picture for the distances that actually matter in defensive gunfights. Compared to a tiny 380 semi-auto, you give up a little capacity, but you get rock-solid ignition, better control with that full grip, and a trigger pull that's the same every single time. At number 5, we jump over to a company that's been smartly playing the nostalgia game. The Heritage Roscoe in 38 Special looks like something a plainclothes detective might have carried in the 70s. But it is a brand new entry for 2025. Heritage went with a compact, carbon steel frame, a 2-inch barrel, and old-school style laminate wood grips, so visually it scratches that old movie snub itch. Where it steps past the true antiques is in the details that matter when you start pressing the trigger. The serrated ramp front sight is easier to pick up than the tiny gutter notches on a lot of vintage snubs. And the overall balance of the gun keeps the muzzle from dipping every time you stage the trigger. With standard pressure 38 Special or mild +P loads, you get a controllable, repeatable sight picture instead of just noise and muzzle flash. For folks who love the romance of a classic wheel gun but still want something they can buy new, shoot hard, and carry without worrying about collector value, the Roscoe hits a very sweet spot in this 2025 lineup. It's priced to be approachable, it's simple to run, and it gives you that detective snub vibe without the maintenance headaches that come with carrying a 40-year-old collectible. Climbing into number 4, we're turning up the heat with a brand that's been quietly earning a reputation for modern revolvers. The Diamondback SDR Black in 357 Magnum is the all-business version of their snub platform. This variant brings a black night ride finish, a 2-inch barrel, a full-sized Hogue grip, and a bright fiber optic front sight to the party. The idea here isn't to build the lightest possible gun, it's to build a small revolver you can actually shoot well with real Magnum loads if you choose to. That extra bit of weight out front, combined with the more hand-filling grip, means you're not getting punished nearly as much as you would with a super featherweight J-frame class blaster. What really stands out in drills is how fast you can recover the sight picture. The fiber optic pipe jumps back into view after recoil, and you're ready for the next shot. Instead of hunting for a skinny front blade and a washed-out rear notch, for the shooter who wants a tough, modern snub that can ride on the belt all day and still deliver serious power, this 2025 SDR Black model deserves its spot on the list. Think of it as the revolver equivalent of a compact duty pistol, not the tiniest option, but the one that hangs in there when you run it hard. For number 3, we stay with Diamondback. But now, we're stepping sideways into caliber territory that a lot of revolver fans have been begging for. The Diamondback SDR 9mm takes that same compact frame and chambers it for 9mm Luger using moon clips. That combo checks several boxes at once. You get cheap, plentiful ammo for practice. You get modern defensive 9mm load performance, and you get extremely fast reloads if you train the technique. On the range, the SDR 9mm has a different personality than the 357 version. Recoil is more of a sharp push than a deep thump, and with the same fiber optic sighting system and ergonomic grip, it's very easy to keep hits inside the vital zone at realistic carry distances. For folks who already own 9mm semi-autos and don't want to stock a separate revolver caliber, this makes a ton of financial sense. It also gives you a hedge against weird market cycles. When 38 and 357 get scarce or pricey, your snub can still run on the same boxes of 9mm you're feeding your everyday carry pistol. In a year where a lot of companies are just repainting old ideas, this SDR 9mm stands out as an actually useful twist. It bridges that gap between the simplicity of a revolver and the logistics of a 9mm pistol in a way that's hard to ignore once you put a few cylinders through it. Now we're into the top 2. And this is where things get really interesting for the old J-frame crowd. Sitting at number 2 is the Smith Wesson model, 632 and 32 H&R Magnum. On paper, it looks like just another small stainless revolver. But once you spend time with it, the concept clicks. You're getting a 6-shot cylinder instead of 5. You're getting that manageable 32 H&R recoil curve. And you're getting a package that weighs around 14.5 ounces. That means you can carry it all day without noticing, then actually enjoy shooting it when you hit the range. Because the gun doesn't beat you up, your practice reps get smoother, your draw-to-first shot times shrink, and your ability to call shots improves. The front sight and rear notch are worlds better than what older pocket revolvers shipped with, and that translates directly into more hits when the clock is running. In 2025, this gun is a quiet revolution. It says you don't have to choose between painful recoil and anemic performance. Instead, you get a smart middle ground that rewards skill and encourages training. For a lot of longtime revolver shooters, the 632 is going to feel like the gun they wish had existed 20 years ago. That brings us to number 1. And honestly, this pick might end up aging into a future classic if Smith & Wesson keeps the formula alive. The top spot on this 2025 snubby list goes to the Smith & Wesson model 432 and 32 H&R Magnum. Think of it as the lighter, alloy-framed cousin in this new 32 wave. You still get 6 rounds on board. You still get that soft recoil that lets you run quick strings without losing control. But you shave the weight down into that roughly 14-ounce neighborhood that pocket gun people dream about. What really sells the 432, though, is how shootable it is for such a small revolver. The gold bead front sight pops against most backgrounds. The U-notch rear gives you a precise window without being fussy. And the trigger characteristics make it very predictable once you've dry-fired it a bit. In real terms, that means tighter groups at 7 yards, cleaner hits on reduced-size steel at 10 and 15 yards, and a lot more confidence when you holster it as your primary or backup gun. In a year full of marketing buzzwords, the Model 432 actually earns its hype by delivering something we've been asking for a long time, a truly modern, lightweight snub that normal shooters can carry comfortably, shoot accurately, and trust when things go bad. If you've ever wished your favorite old airweight shot just a little softer and held one more round without giving up reliability, this is the direction a lot of us have been hoping the market would finally go. Before you click away and start price shopping, It's worth thinking about where you fit in this lineup. If you're a newer shooter or buying for someone who is, those softer shooting rimfire and 380 ACP options will make training days a lot more pleasant. If you're the one gun, do everything type. The 357 Magnum and 9mm snubs give you flexibility across ammo shelves and defensive roles. And if you've been around the block with lightweight 38s and you're just tired of getting punished, that new crop of 32 H&R Magnum guns might be the most honest answer on the table. Match the firearm to your real life, not the internet flex, in the real world. So that's the rundown of the 7 standout snubbies that hit the scene in 2025. We've got everything from high-capacity 22 Magnum and soft-shooting 380 ACP to hard-hitting 357 Magnum and efficient 9mm, all the way through to this new generation of 32 H&R Magnum carry guns. The big picture here is simple. The snub-nose revolver isn't just limping along on nostalgia anymore. It's evolving. Manufacturers are finally listening to what real shooters have been asking for: better sights, better triggers, smarter calibers, and frames that don't feel like boat anchors in your pocket. If you wrote off snubbies because of some miserable experience with a tiny steel 38 years ago, 2025 is the year to take another look. One of these 7 might be the gun that finally changes your mind. When you strip all the marketing fluff away, that's what these 7 little guns really do. They give regular folks more control, more comfort, and more confidence in a fight that hopefully never comes. If this breakdown helped you see snubbies in a new light, do me a favor. Hit like, drop a comment with which one you'd trust on your hip, and share this with that buddy who still thinks the only answer is a beat-up 38 from 1982. I've got more real-world gun lists coming, so stick around. We're just getting warmed up.